I felt like I was living two lives, and I wasn't being authentic to who I was as a person. I was sacrificing who I was for the sake of building a family and marrying someone. I just started feeling like this burning sensation inside my soul that I was not fulfilled and I was not happy. And because you think that, like, if you're doing this for yourself, you're being selfish, but it's actually selfless. If you focus on self-care and really being dedicated to being your best, if you're your best for yourself, then you can be your best for the people that are close to you. And I think what it boils down to is just mindset. Are you taking the mindset of an opportunity, or are you playing the victim? You have a choice. And what people don't realize is that they hold the pen to writing their book. You can create anything you want, and you have the opportunity every single day to make choices that are going to shape your future. I was fearful. I was scared as shit. But once I decided, I leaned into that fear and still acted anyways.
The power you seek lies within you, as we are each infinite beings living a human experience. The truth of who and what we are has been hidden from us until now. Awaken, my friends, to this new reality that we are in fact creating everything through the power and the gift of our wonderful imagination. Join me as I unlock the secrets of our past and reveal the truth that has been clouded in this veil we call life. What reality will you choose to create today? The choice is yours. Welcome, my friends, to My Reality Practice. Hello and welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us today on the Reality Practice podcast. I'm your host, Joey Kramer, and today's guest is Aaron Quinn. In January of 2016, Aaron's life was about to change forever, as it was turned completely upside down when he initiated a divorce from his children's mother. It was at that moment that he finally chose to take control of his life as he began to experience a rebirth, which was happening right before his very eyes. Losing many friends during this process, he began causing ripples within all of his relationships, and he was choosing to follow a road much less traveled. He subsequently went on to completely rebuild his life, and in the process discovered his ability to truly soar and to take charge of his own story and his own future, affecting positively the lives of his family, friends, and children. Today, Aaron is a certified master life coach, a successful entrepreneur, and most importantly, a devoted family man. His coaching programs are helping empower men around the world to live their true purpose, both powerfully and vulnerably. He remains focused on a strong family bond, which has been his mainstay for him throughout his entire life. So without further delay, let's welcome Aaron Quinn to the Reality Practice podcast. Hello, my brother. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Joey. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. I'm excited to dive into this topic with you today because it's something that really hits close to home for me in the fact that I also went through a very difficult divorce back in 2012. It lasted 2 years, ripped the soul out of me.
Sure.
I mean, very similar to your story in terms of children, in terms of, I'm looking forward to hear, more details about how you got through this and how it changed you, to become the person you are today. I feel like the idea of like divorce, it's so prevalent in our society, but everybody always focuses on the women and the mother
Sure.
and the children. But I feel like I'm not pity party, I'm just saying, I don't think there's enough, put on the masculine, the men going through this, who many of us are incredible fathers, and we want nothing but to give an incredible life to our children. So I feel like we get swept under the rug a lot, like our emotions. I mean, we feel the same thing, that women do, but we get the raw end of the deal more times than not. So I think this will be an amazing conversation where we can kind of open up, get vulnerable, get real, for the fathers out there, for the guys that are going through similar situations, or they're really debating on, should they take that jump? Should they change their life in essence and find their true self, or should they just stay afraid, stay in that shell? I mean, there's so much to dive into here. I just want to open up the floor to you though, because
Absolutely.
this is about you. This is about your journey. So let's start with what happened. Where were you prior to 2016 when all of this happened? How was your life? What was going on at that point in time?
Yeah, thanks. First of all, thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate you reaching out to me and inviting me. I'm really looking forward to having this conversation with you. So yeah, about 2009 is when I got married to my ex, and looking back, I felt like I was settling just for the sake of getting married and starting a family. I was around that age, early 30s, and I grew up with a single mother. She was disabled, so I didn't really have the mother father typical family that you normally would see. And I always really just wanted to have that in my life. And I came to a point in my early adulthood where I was really yearning for it. And when I started dating my ex, I kind of thought, maybe, I'm around that age, I should start getting married, and, kind of overlooking what I truly wanted, and sacrificing who I really was, because I felt that, if I got married, I would be happy. But yet I overlooked the personality differences that my ex and I had, and in hopes that it would change. And I was just ready to have a family. And her and I both had the same parental, I guess, dreams. We wanted kids and everything like that, and we got along for the most part. But there were a lot of toxic traits between both her and I that just wasn't really supportive of like who I was, and it wasn't in alignment with what I wanted to do long term. So there was a lot of arguing, a lot of discourse. I realized after my divorce that that I was putting friends in specific positions to be different people around my ex. So that really hit me hard, because I never wanted to do that to any of my friends or family. And and I was a different person when my ex was around with my friends and family, and then when she wasn't around, I was a different person. So I felt like I was living two lives, and I wasn't being authentic to who I was as a person. I was sacrificing who I was for the sake of building a family and marrying someone. And as we started having children, and our marriage progressed, it never got better. It only became more complicated. And at probably after a couple years, after my son was 1 or 2, I just started really getting that itch in my belly, like, this is not right. This is not right. I love my kids, with all my heart, but I just started feeling like this burning sensation inside my soul, that I was not fulfilled and I was not happy. And you hear everybody, Dr. Laura, she's all about stay till the end with the kids and don't get a divorce. And the divorce is okay, in my opinion. It's just a piece of paper. It doesn't mean anything in regards to the commitment to your family. I am a very devoted father. I've got a very much improved relationship with my ex, and a very deepened relationship with both of my children. And I feel the bottom of my soul that I would not I would not have that depth of relationships with any of them if I was still married to my ex. Because
that's they control us, don't they? I mean, they make us become somebody that we're not in a lot of ways, because it sounds like you were trying to be somebody
sure.
you weren't. And it's when you're fighting that, I mean, it's just resistance, right?
Yeah, and and I take full accountability for my own part in it and my actions. However, I was enabling the behavior for not sticking up for myself. So my lack of confidence in myself was really at fault for putting myself through that whole part of my life. And once I gained confidence in who I was and what I wanted to do and the passions I wanted to live, I just became unstoppable. And I had the conversation with my ex, and as soon as I had it, like, all this pressure lifted off my shoulders, and I was motivated to just live my life and really find out who I was.
I love that. There's so much in your story, I think, that a lot of us men experience, those of us that have gone through a divorce or are contemplating whether or not to do it. There's that idea of, are we just settling? Are we just sacrificing because now we have children? If there weren't children at play in it, I feel like getting a divorce is a much easier process. It's like, well, I'm going to go my way, you go your way, have a great life. But because we have those kids involved, it's like you said, we're almost living a lie. We're almost having to become something that we're not. We're not being our true, authentic self, for sure. We're trying to walk on eggshells in a lot of cases. For me, I didn't know when the next fight was going to come. I didn't know, I was afraid of leaving and losing potentially my children, everything that was involved with that. But I was also afraid of stepping on the eggshells, of poking the bear again, and the fights that would come from it. So it was like everywhere I looked, all I saw was fear. It's fear of abandonment, fear of leaving, fear of not, of lack, of not having the children or whatever.
Right.
Goes through our minds. And, it's, you say on, in your bio and everything, it was the scariest decision you ever had to make in your life. And I understand that feeling, because I can go right back there. And I remember that choice. It's like you have to choose children between your own freedom, but it's not true, right? I mean, it's just scary.
It's kind of counterintuitive.
Dive into that,
because you think that, like, if you're doing this for yourself, you're being selfish, but it's actually selfless. If you focus on self-care and really being dedicated to being your best, if you're your best for yourself, then you can be your best for the people that are close to you. And it was the scariest decision of my life, but it was also the most confident decision of my life. I don't know if you read in my divorce story that, it took about 6 months for me to get an apartment, and I was 4 to 6 months. And then I was living in a trailer at my grandpa's backyard, and I would go tuck my kids in at night and then go back to my trailer. And I had to get through all those emotions, and that was hard for me. But the fear of staying with my ex and living an unfulfilled and inauthentic life was much higher than the fear of taking the step into the unknown. And that's just what you got to weigh out, and you got to weigh out your options and figure out what the lesser of both evils is.
I relate completely with you on, you lived in a trailer in the back of you said your dad's house?
My grandfather's.
Your grandfather's house. I lived in the basement for about 6 months at my house with my wife, while the kids upstairs, was normal family, day to day, dishes, dinners, whatever. But the second, the kids were asleep, it was, see you later. I'm going downstairs to my little apartment that I was forced to live in. So, it's really that split. Like on the surface, you've got to portray this normal, we feel like we need to portray this normal life to our children, but on the inside, we're dying a little bit. It's like, this isn't me. And once we get beyond that fear of realizing that things do get better, like they get so much better. We just get caught up in our heads, right? That, oh, if I leave, the what ifs start happening. And it's like, what if this, what if that? And, I'm never going to see my kids again. And all of these things that don't exist.
I had to deal with all that. And another thing I dealt with is I did leave my wife. And then I after about 3 months of leaving her, I actually decided to try again. But I went back with her for like 2 to 3 weeks. I believe it was around, that short of period of time. And then I just realized that, you know what, I'm not doing this for myself. I'm doing this so that people think I'm the good guy and I'm doing what's right for the kids, and then I just started really thinking like, you know what, fuck this. I'm going to do this. So then I made my final decision after that. I'm like, this is just not going to work out for me. I felt imprisoned. And it wasn't her fault. It's both of our faults. We're both enabling each other. And what I realized is that we're just different people. We're different people that wanted the same thing. We wanted children, and we both love and respect each other still to this day for being parents, which is completely awesome. And we just had personality differences, and she just wanted different things out of life in general, and I wanted different things out of life in general. We were just growing in different directions. And once you become accepting of that, I think the decision gets a little easier to manage and to navigate, because you don't want to build resentment. You want to be able to accept accept what is, and then create something new for yourself. And I knew from the first day that when I did this, she was still going to be in my life in a major capacity with being co-parents. So we still see each other at sporting events. We're very engaged with our children in school. So it's just a whole different situation now, and I couldn't be happier with the development to this date.
That's fantastic. I know so many people don't get along with their exes, be it self-imposed or, the other person who we have no control over. It's always good when we're able to work together, because it's not about what I did or what she did or what you did or whoever. It's about the kids at the end of the day, and it's about setting that example for them. It's about providing a place of love. Just because we're different, you talk about bringing out toxic traits in one another. It's almost like we're pushing each other's buttons, because we're just so incompatible, but we want to make it work because we have so much love. You and me were similar. I was abandoned at birth, so I didn't have a father until I was about 8 years old, I didn't have the image of a father, right?
Sure.
So for me, family and being a good dad was literally like the most important thing I could do
I could definitely
in my
relate to
life, because I didn't have that growing up. And I said, I will never abandon my children. I will never be that guy, right? So I feel like you had a lot of that going on. So you're fighting, with, even though me and their mom, we do not mix, we're like oil and water, but you had this idea of the family and what it should be and who you should be. So kind of maybe discuss that a little bit, the importance of recognizing it, getting out, like when it's not working, it's so counterproductive, right?
Well, yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. And, like I said, my kids were getting to a specific point. My daughter had just been born. I think she was like 1 year old at the time. And I just decided, like, my kids don't deserve to see fighting. They don't deserve to see arguing. They don't deserve to see incompatibility. They deserve to see love and gratitude and compassion. And that's really who I am at the core of my heart and soul. And, I strive to be those qualities every single day. And I just wasn't that person with my ex. And it is an energy thing, personality differences and energy. It's a real thing. Like, just some people just don't mesh well, and that is okay. But when you keep fighting it, what you resist persists.
Mhm.
And you keep fighting it, it's going to get worse. And if you have a child in hopes that, you know, it'll get better, it's not. If you get married in hopes things will get better, it's not. You know what I mean? It's just it's the wrong equation to live by.
Absolutely.
So I just knew that I wanted to show love, and one of the biggest decisions for me too was continuing to show love to my ex, regardless of how she treated me. Because it wasn't an easy fight. It wasn't easy to get to this point. There was a lot of growth on both sides, and there was a lot of things to get through. Like you said in my bio earlier, I lost a lot of friends, and I ended up having to navigate my current friends to see, you know, if they agreed with me or if not. And if they didn't, I still showed love. But it was really uncomfortable to walk into a room that I know that these handful of people still talk to my ex. What stories do they know? What side do they think they know? You know, and I had to get over that. I had to get over the fear of people judging me and ridiculing me. And all I did was continue to show my children love and my ex love to a certain degree, and on a friendship capacity, to just show love and respect completely across the board, and kept my head held high. And it's a longer road, but it paid off in the end.
That's amazing. I mean, it's at the end of the day, you know, I talk a lot about on my show, you know, there's only us. You mentioned energy. And, you know, when I go deeper into the metaphysical and the quantum and really start to understand that obstacles are there for us to learn from, right? And going through a divorce, being stuck in that bad relationship, that conflict all the time, you know, I've learned to really see the beauty behind it anymore. You know, it's like the idea that they're not really there. It's just the projection of them. And now I've created this relationship. What am I trying to learn from? Why did if I'm creating everything, why the hell did I create this specific person to have this kind of pain, this kind of animosity, and then have to try and figure out how to work together because now we have children? It's like, what kind of sick, demented reality do we create? But in the end of the day, it's like, it's so beautifully constructed because you ended up learning the idea of compassion, of forgiveness, of love, that if you hadn't have had that, you may never have discovered it, you know, in that truest sense, if that makes sense. So it's like I guess the question is, you know, how important is the reality we're creating in order to grow, in order to learn? You know, our struggles teach us things. So, and divorce is no different. You know, can you talk about that a little bit in terms of the learning process and how we're kicking our, you know, while it seems bad, it seems terrible, it seems horrible, at the end of the day, it's really there for us to learn from and to see the beauty in it. That makes sense.
For sure. And I think what it boils down to is just mindset. Are you taking the mindset of an opportunity, or are you playing the victim? Now, growing up, like I said, I grew up with a single mother. She was disabled. My father wasn't really there. So I had to grow up at an early age. I've always been more mature for my age than a lot of kids my age. And I never had a chance to play the victim role. You know, I'd get insecure from time to time, and I have my insecurities still to this day, but I never played the victim. I've always created an opportunity for myself to get out of where I was and put myself in the next level. I put myself through college. I failed. I flunked out of college, and I got readmitted a year later, and I still graduated with an engineering degree. And I pretty much took care of myself and my mom through high school. So a lot of the things I did shaped me for the decisions I'm making now as an adult, because I never really stuck in the negativity mindset. I've always tried to fight my way through and figure out a solution. That's probably why I became an engineer. You know, I'm very solution oriented. I look for different ways to be successful. And I think just with your question, it just boils down to mindset. Like you have a choice. You have a choice. And what people don't realize is that they hold the pen to writing their book. You can create anything you want. And you have the opportunity every single day to make choices that are going to shape your future.
Hmm.
So I just decided in my head, once I decided it, it was done. I was fearful. I was scared as shit. But once I decided, I leaned into that fear and still acted anyways.
I like that. I mean, yeah, it always takes a decision. You can have the best thoughts and intentions, but until
Right.
you actually make the decision and step forward, step into it, it may look like it's a burning ring of fire, but the second you step into it, the fire disappears and the fear is gone. But it's that initial step which is the hardest, you know.
It is the hardest, but and as you keep stepping, you gain more confidence.
Hmm.
You're like, oh shit, I could really do this.
Right,
You'll
right.
surprise yourself.
Okay, you start getting that momentum. You start getting, well, that wasn't as hard as I thought it'd be. Maybe I'll take another step. Well, that one wasn't as bad either. Before you know it,
Right.
it's like, all right, this is actually pretty easy. I'm past the hard stuff. So, what about the idea of accountability, taking responsibility? I mean, that's kind of where it all boils down to, doesn't
Yep.
it? You know, we can
Yes.
make excuses all we want for why bad shit happens, or we can start to realize, like you said, we're the writer, scripting our own play, our own story. And why do you think so many of us just can't wrap our minds around that and understand that you have to take responsibility for the reality we're scripting? Because we're literally
Yeah.
every second of the day is being scripted out, whether we want to what's the word, and whether we want to accept that or not,
Sure.
it's happening.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think over the last couple of decades, it's gotten worse. You know, you see it in politics too, where um, the politicians, all they do is slander each other
Hmm.
and point fingers and react. And it's not sending a good message. And that's not the only that's just one example, you know, but you just see a lot of things in our society that people aren't taking ownership of their feelings, of their actions. They're blaming other people for their feelings.
Hmm.
And it just baffles me because it's like, dude, like I'm not doing anything to you and you're getting pissed off. Like you need to chill. Like take ownership of that.
Hmm.
And just doing that, just when you make that choice to take ownership of where you're at in life, accept where you're at, and then take ownership of what you're going to be doing, you start gaining control of everything in all areas of your life.
Hmm.
Whether it's your finances, your intimacy, your friendships, your career, you start finding ways to grow and to get better.
Hmm.
But if you keep blaming people and if you keep finding excuses, then you're not going to get anywhere. You'll stay stuck.
Absolutely. And I think this flows right into kind of the discussion and the principle of, you know, the masculine and feminine. I've done a lot of work over the years on this subject, and you know, the masculine is, you know, the person that takes ownership. We have to have complete and total ownership of everything, because as the masculine, we're literally the engineer of the reality. You know, I put it in terms of the feminine is the inspiration. They're our muse. When the feminine is happy, they are exuding just beauty and love, and we get to be in that presence. And then it
Right.
inspires us as the masculine to go out and make things happen, take action, to build. You know, we're the builder, they're the designer in a sense. So I feel like it's our role, it's our duty as the masculine to own up, to understand we're creating it all, that we need to take responsibility. Why do you think this lack of responsibility has been thrown upon us? What is our lesson we're trying to learn maybe from this? You said you've noticed it escalating over the last 20 years. I agree completely. Nobody wants to take ownership anymore, from the media to politicians to the education system. What is this driving force? Why are we weakening ourselves from our true power?
I think there's just a lot of distractions out there,
Mm.
and there's a lot of ways to blame other people, and it's so easy. And we are just so bombarded with all this social media and news and everything like that, and they did this and they did that and they did this and they did that. It's just like you can easily get caught up in the rhetoric and all of the conversations of, oh my God, and all the gossiping and shit like that. But it when you focus on that, you're not focusing on your shit.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So it's very easy. It's very easy to get caught up in it and go down that road. But man, once you start taking ownership of your life, that stuff gets kicked to the side for sure.
Absolutely.
And another thing too, like, men are just not encouraged to be vulnerable and be soft.
Mm.
Whereas it's okay as a male to show your heart on your sleeve and be compassionate, be grateful, and show love and cry and hug. I tell all my male friends I love them. I give them big hugs and I say I love you, all of them.
Right.
And
as do I.
It's just amazing. And my kids see it, and they see us hugging and cheersing and all this stuff, and they need to see that. They need to see a softer side from males, and they need to see that it's okay to be expressive. They've seen me cry, they've seen me yell, they've seen me happy. You know what I mean? It's so it's just very important for males not to feel like their feelings need to be suppressed, because when you suppress the feelings, it turns into anger, it turns into resentment, it turns into you'll start creating habits that you're acting out, subconsciously, and it's just it's not a good way to be authentic and live vulnerably.
Oh yes, I couldn't agree more. You basically, where your focus goes, your energy flows, is the saying. And what's happening with masculine, I feel like we're being shown this inappropriate, like this side of masculine that doesn't really exist. Like, they're saying a masculine should be this, it should be aggressive, and we need to remove masculinity, all these traits that make us who we are. But it's like they don't want to talk about the other part of being masculine, because we're both half and half. We both have
Right.
half feminine, half masculine when we're balanced properly. So it's like, no, a true masculine isn't just aggression, isn't just anger. They're making, like, I would say they're almost making us angry and aggressive and saying, don't be that. They're actually making us into that, because they're trying to force us to suppress the emotional side, the feminine that's within all of us, of the beauty, of the love, right? So it's like, when we're able to be ourselves, when we're able to connect and show the love, to cry, I'm an emotional wreck at times. I'm an empath. So, I feel everything. Everything around me is feeling. And it's like, my wife, why are you down today? What's the matter with you? I'm like, I don't know. I just, it's something's going on, and I just feel energy coming in. But I've learned to accept that. I understand who I am, and I don't hide it.
Right.
If I'm upset, if I'm sad, if I get angry, I try and dive in and say, okay, why am I angry? What's hurting, And these are more of the conversations I think we need to have as masculine, strong masculine men that want to understand who we truly are and what we're capable of being. We don't need to be afraid. We don't need to run from the vulnerability, from the intimate moments, from the emotional moments. That's part of this life. We're here to experience it all, right?
Yeah, I think showing sensitivity is a sign of true strength. Being compassionate to your fellow man and being able to show a soft side is, it shows masculinity to me. That's just how I see it.
I agree. And that, I mean, it's needed more now than ever. I think we're so divided. There's so much animosity and anger in the world at this point. And it's like, it's going to come down to us as strong masculines to draw the line and say, no more. I'm not going to feed into that cycle. I'm not going to be who you want me to be. I'm going to stand firm in who I am and my power, and I'm going to love. I'm going to resonate that love throughout the world to all the people with your ex, with my ex. You know, it's not always easy, but the idea is stand firm in who we are, what we know we are, and resonate what we truly want to be. And don't let all the stereotypes, don't let all the bullshit come into play that are, like, frankly, there to cloud and distract us, like you said, from who we can be. So who is, I guess, the true Aaron? You talk about your authentic self. Now that you've found him, and I take that back. We're always searching to discover more. Who have you found Aaron to be at this point in your journey?
Man, I today I'm the most confident I've ever been. You know, I'm growing a blended family. I got remarried, and we are just having a great time raising our children. We live a life of love, gratitude, and compassion. I know I've said those three traits earlier, but that's really the core of who I am and who we are as a family. And we just continue to live those principles every day.
And those are good principles. So, so let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about what it is you do. You have Dreams to Life coaching. Yes. And you've got some different programs you offer. You primarily, I think you work with men though, and fathers, and but you can work with anybody. Why don't you share?
Yeah, I can work with anybody.
Yeah, share some information, and let's dive into what you do and how you do it a little bit.
So yeah, so I have one-on-one programs. I do 30-day masterminds, and I also have 90-day programs. I could do group coaching as well, but I really just basically work with my clients to identify what's working and what isn't working in their life, help them reduce the clutter, help them restore integrity with themselves, whether it's a phone call they need to make to someone, whether it's a room in their house they need to declutter, or a unpaid bill, like little things in your life that you keep kicking the can down the road. It ends up creating a large pile down the road. And I help my clients identify where they're getting stuck, what's keeping them from progressing. And it's typically a lot of little things. And once you start identifying what's working, what isn't working, you start removing what's not working, and it creates more room to focus on what is working. And I just help them get rejuvenated for their own life. And I put together action plans with them to really start progressing and propelling into what they want to do, setting goals and holding them accountable.
I like that. I mean, it's, talk about the importance of focus. I think we've mentioned it earlier, but you really help bring clarity to people. Let's discuss the idea of, you were in a bad marriage, you got a divorce, you didn't know what was happening, you didn't know what the future held. I think being able to come from that point of view, now you can look back and see the clarity, see how everything had to happen, right? Talk about the idea of, once you kind of get that clarity, once you kind of know the path, everything starts to become easier for you.
Sure. Yeah, it's very easy to get stuck when you're not clear and you don't know your purpose. Once you find your purpose and you gain clarity on that, then you can start stepping towards what fulfills you. When you don't know what you're clear on, you're spinning in circles, and you don't get as focused. So I think it's very, very important to find clarity and your true purpose on what you want to do, without having the fear of external forces telling you no, you can't do something. If you just listen to your intuition, listen to your gut, listen to your heart, and lean into that, you will surprise yourself. Once you start listening to yourself, you'll start making decisions. You'll start getting confident. You'll find more clarity, and then you'll start taking action.
I'm glad you went into that. That was actually going to be my next set of kind of taking it down the path of intuition and trusting in yourself. So you really,
Sure.
that whole process you went through has really helped bring out the true you, again, that authentic self,
Absolutely.
which then builds on confidence. That confidence creates that momentum. And now that you've got that momentum, it makes everything so much easier, that clear path, and you're just
Oh, yeah.
kind of humming at that point. So,
So
that's
I sacrificed who I was in that marriage because I wasn't confident in myself,
mm,
because I didn't feel like I was worth it. But once I started getting confident in myself, because I wasn't happy with who I was, and I was settling and nothing was getting better. So I started feeling like I really have to make a change. Like I don't want to be here. Why am I here? Oh, because I decided I wanted to get married when I wasn't ready, and
mm,
I was forcing the family picture. You know what I mean? And
yes.
once I got real with myself and I got clear, like this is not my path right now, then my mindset started shifting, and I stopped enabling myself. And from then on, it was just a domino effect.
I totally get what you're saying on that. It's the idea of, we're living, you like I said earlier, we're living that lie, and we can't see past really the darkness. We just think this
Sure.
is all there is. We have to settle for it. I think this is really powerful for the men in the audience listening to this. If they're going through this, it's always darkest right before the dawn. you know
Yep.
Remember that God, that the universe, everything's always working for us, even though it's hard to see that at times. We
Sure.
just really have to have that faith. We have to have that, one, know what you want. If you know you're not happy, if you're miserable in a relationship, then understand it, acknowledge it, recognize it, and decide. Like you said, make a decision to change. No fear out the door. What's going to happen is going to happen. Let everything fall, the chips fall, right?
Yep.
We can't always know the future, but what we can do is be present and just move forward. So what do you, as kind of final words here as we close up on this part of the interview here, what would you say to guys that are in a similar situation like we were in, miserable, wanting to get out, afraid to get out? Like, what is your one piece of advice here, or what would you suggest for them?
I would just suggest that they start, one, expressing gratitude for where they're at, and start showing gratitude, because when you start shifting into a state of gratitude, your energy shifts and your mindset starts shifting, and you kind of have to pull yourself out of the victim mindset of like, why is this happening to me, or this or that. Start being grateful and start thanking yourself for acknowledging that you want to change. And when you start doing that and you start internalizing who you are and what you want, and start respecting yourself, and then just being grateful for where you're at, then your mindset starts shifting. And just, I would just suggest you start with that, and then you start writing out a list of what's working and what isn't, and then write down a list of what is missing. Like if this thing on this list, on the missing list, if this was present in my life now, how would that part that's missing change what's in my life right now? And then once you start doing that, you can start analyzing certain things in all areas of your life. And then you can start making small micro steps to shifting whatever it is you're looking to shift.
I love that exercise. That's one of the popular exercises that we do, in creating our reality. Like, once we learn
Sure.
how to do this, all you're doing there is you're teaching people how to reimagine, how to envision the future they want. I love that exercise. It's what's not working. Write it all down. What do you want? What do you
Yeah.
foresee because how are we going to get there if we can't foresee it?
Yeah.
We
Brain
can't.
dumping is a great way to like, just like vomit all your thoughts and all of your questions, concerns, just write everything down, and then you can see it and you can move things around and you can add to it. It makes it a lot easier to like visualize what's in your head, because we get so clouded up here and unfocused, and we shove things in the back of our head, and we get recentered to something else and distracted over here, distracted over there. That when you put pen to paper, you're putting deliberate intent on those words, and it just becomes a lot more real when you start focusing on that paper. And writing that list has been so beneficial for me in figuring out like what types of things I want to discover in my life and what I want to create.
I love it. That's one of the principles that I try to teach people, is how we have to know what we want to create. And I applaud you for helping people around the world, helping your clients and anybody really that you can inspire, your family, your friends, that this is possible, that we can design the future, the reality we want, but it does come from within. It comes from,
it really does,
accepting who we are as that masculine and feminine. It's okay to cry. It's okay to have the emotions, but it's also okay to be the strong leader when that time comes. So there's no shame in any of it, right? It is who we are, embrace it. So, all right. Where can people find you? How can they work with you? Before we get to the last question, share that info with everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Both on Facebook and Instagram, you can reach me at Dreams to Life Coaching with the number 2. In my bio, there's a link to set up a coaching call if you feel that I'm the right fit for you, and if you're interested in getting some coaching. Set up a conference call with me, and we'll go through some stuff and see if it's a good fit.
Fantastic. I can't recommend, more to check out what Aaron's got going on here. He's got some simple programs that he offers that can be truly life-changing. They're very, very affordable, but they're day by day. Like I think you've got a 30-day one, you said. I was taking a look at there. If you're just wanting to start kind of dabbling into figuring out what kind of this whole self-help, self-development, self-transformation is about, I'd say Aaron's got a really good program that he offers. So check him out for sure. So with that being said, it's time for the last question that I ask every guest as they come on the show. Since this show's entirely about how we create our reality, the idea is, if I could snap my fingers right now and transport you to create into the reality that you most desire, like what is their fantasy? What does the world consist of in the reality you want to live in? At snap of my fingers, go.
Traveling the world.
Traveling the world. That's a awesome goal, reality, I should say. First you got to have the goal, and then you make it your reality. Where all do you want to travel? Just everywhere?
My wife and I want to do a Mediterranean cruise, and we want to travel to Europe and other continents with our children and just give them life experiences. We get bogged down so much with the 9 to 5 and everything, and we're really working to be able to work remotely and continue just building our wealth and ensuring that we can provide our children a good legacy, and traveling the world is definitely something that's high on our list, and giving our children those experiences.
That's awesome. That is also one of my future plans here. This economy we live in now, where we can work, most of us can work from anywhere in the world now. It's like, why am I not in Europe? Why am I not traveling here and living this experience? That's what life's about, experiences, right?
Absolutely.
So Aaron, thank you so much for coming on the show. I've had a truly fascinating, fun time, talking about this. Like I said, it's something that I feel like is swept under the rug, and it needs to be out there more. We're masculine men. It's okay to have feelings. We get hurt, we go through divorces. We got to pick ourselves up. And I'm glad to know that there's a community, there's like-minded guys out there that are here to share their experiences, here to help, and here to kind of push us all through to a higher frequency, a higher sense of love and duty and honor. So thank you again, my friend.
Joey, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for having me on. It was a pleasure.
You got it. I also want to thank everybody else who took time to watch this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, hit the subscribe button on the channel there so that you will never miss an episode of the Reality Practice podcast. And until next time, guys, thanks again for watching. Stay blessed. And remember to always ask yourself, what reality are you choosing to create today? Bye now.
See you guys later.